All rise. The United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois is now in ceremonial session. God save the United States and this honorable court. May I please have the colors remain standing.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, where so gallantly streamed gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does thy star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Ms. Vega. That was a beautiful rendition. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Good morning to all of you on this gorgeous day out here in Wrigley Field. Welcome to the almost new citizens and to your families and your friends. What a perfect day to become a citizen of the United States. It is at moments like this when I look out upon all of the people and the different faces that will soon become part of our great nation, that the words "we the people that begin the Constitution of the United States truly come to life. We are a nation of people, of immigrants from hundreds of countries, 100 of which are represented here today. We come from here and there to make a better life for ourselves and for our families. My great-grandmother came from Ireland when she was 15 years old, with nothing in her pocket except for the hope of a better future. She came alone on a boat. She found her way to Yellowstone National Park, where she served as a maid in the tourist hotels there. She only spoke Gaelic, her native tongue. She never went to school, and she worked in a blue-collar job. And I think now, do you think my great-grandmother would have any understanding that simply 3 generations away, all of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren hold college degrees and graduate degrees? Do you think she had in her brain that her great-granddaughter might be swearing in new citizens as the chief judge of the Northern District of Illinois? That, my dear friends, is the American dream. And that is what I wish for all of you today as we begin upon our ceremony. And as we begin, I would first like to invite Mr. Tom Ricketts, the Executive Chairman of the Chicago Cubs, who has so graciously allowed us to be here today in this beautiful confines.
Thank you, Chief Judge Kendall. On behalf of the Chicago Cubs and the Ricketts family, I would like to welcome everyone to the friendly confines of beautiful and historic Wrigley Field. Click for that. It looks pretty good, right? You know, it's funny, like, I see it full a lot, but every time I see it empty, I'm really struck at how beautiful this place is. But I would like to begin by acknowledging some of our esteemed guests today. Representatives of the court, Chief Judge Kendall, Senator Durbin, Congresspeople Quigley, Ramirez, and Schakowsky, 44th Ward Alderman Bennett Lawson, Rear Admiral Friedman, Master Chief Guy, Master Chief On, and all of our representatives from our armed forces, and all the Cubs associates who are with us here today, with a special recognition to our community affairs team and our communications team, specifically Mike Lafrano, Heather Wade Kitsis, and Jen Martinez-Roth, who worked so hard on making this happen today. But most importantly, I would like to acknowledge our candidates for citizenship and their families. Thank you for being here for the 4th naturalization ceremony that we have hosted at Wrigley Field. Today sets a record as the largest naturalization ceremony we've ever had, with 981 new citizens. Hopefully 981 new Cub fans. And as Chief Judge Kendall said, representing around 100 countries. This ceremony brings two things together which could not be more American: baseball, America's pastime, and the welcoming of new citizens to our country. The power of sport to unite individuals and tear down divisions is one of the greatest assets we have as a nation. Our baseball team includes players not only from the United States and Japan, but also Dominican Republic, Mexico, Panama, and Venezuela. And on any given day in our stands, we see people from across the city, and indeed, people from across the world. And today, you honor us by helping continue our tradition of hosting these naturalization ceremonies here at the ballpark. So please know that you will always be welcome at Wrigley Field, and we hope this isn't the last time you visit the friendly confines. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Chief Judge Kendall. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricketts. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you again for sharing this beautiful space for our ceremony today. I would like to invite up now Judge Matthew Kennelly from the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois.
Thank you, Chief Judge Kendall. Good afternoon, good morning to everybody. I believe that there is a motion that is going to be presented by Assistant U.S. Attorney Catherine Kelly.
Good morning, Judge Kennelly. On behalf of the United States, at this time, it is my privilege to present to you 981 petitioners from 97 countries who are seeking admission to United States citizenship. The petitioners present before you this morning have been thoroughly examined by officers of citizenship and immigration services. Based upon that examination, it has been determined that each petitioner has resided in the United States for the required statutory period. Each is a person of good moral character. Principles of the United States Constitution and our form of government, and each has met the requirements for naturalization with no known exception. Therefore, on behalf of the United States government, I move to admit these petitioners to citizenship and respectfully request that this honorable court administer to them the oath of allegiance as required by law.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. I will say that when Ms. Kelly makes motions in courtroom, she wins about half the time. This is a winner. This one's a winner. It's my pleasure to grant your motion. Good morning again. In a minute here, I'm going to ask the new citizens to be to stand up so that I can administer an oath to you. The oath is on the back of your program, but I'm going to say it in small parts, and I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. So if all 981 new citizens to be could please stand up. And please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. You're now officially new citizens. Congratulations. Okay, you can all have a seat. There's going to be a lot of speakers today, but I've got the microphone right now, so I'm going to kind of hold it for a little bit, just make a few remarks. It's really a privilege for me to be a part of this very special day. It's a special day for all of you because it represents the end of a really, really long process that involved a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of waiting on your part. And you've now made it, and you've achieved this goal that you've all had for quite some time. So you should all be very proud of yourselves, and your family members and friends should be proud of you too, because it's a special day for all of you. I also think it's a special day for our country, and you might ask why I say that. I think as a country we gain something very, very important in ceremonies like this. What we gain are people who become citizens not because they just happen to be born here, like me, but because they went out and decided to become a citizen and then had to work at it and had to earn it. And generally speaking, when people have to work for something and earn it, in other words, if it's not just handed to them, they sometimes tend to value it a little bit more than it had just been given to them. And they sometimes have a little bit better understanding of the importance of the thing that they had to earn, which in this case was your citizenship. So I think that because you had to choose to become citizens and then had to earn your citizenship, you will not take for granted the principles that our country stands for. Now, if I were to go around to all 981 of you and ask what principles does our country stand for, I'd probably get about 980 different answers. I'm going to talk about 4 things that I think our country stands for, 4 principles. And those are freedom, tolerance, being proud of our diversity, and service to other people. And I say a few words about each one of those. So first of all, freedom. In this country, people are, by and large, free to live the way they want to live without having the government tell you what to believe, how to worship, how to act, what to wear, and so on. A few moments ago, you swore to uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States. That's what protects our freedom. A second principle that our country stands for, I think, at least when we're at our best, is tolerance. It's what sometimes is referred to as the right to be left alone. In other words, the right to live the way you want to live without interference. There's a flip side to that. The flip side is the only way that each one of us can live the way we want to live is to tolerate other people who are different from us. And so that's an important principle that our country stands for too, is tolerance. A third principle that our country stands for, again, when we're at our best, is being proud of our diversity. You've now just become citizens of the most diverse country literally in the history of the world. And if you have any doubt about that, I think it's 97 different countries that are represented here today. Our country is made up almost entirely of immigrants and people whose ancestors were immigrants. And so for that reason, we have an incredible amount of ethnic diversity, we have an incredible amount of racial diversity, we have an incredible amount of religious diversity. And again, when we're at our best, this is something we're proud of in this country, and that's something that we're afraid of. I think a fourth principle that our country stands for is service to other people. At any given time, about 30% of the adults in this country are involved in some form of volunteer work. In other words, helping people who are less fortunate than they are. There are millions more that work in public service and public health jobs, public safety, teaching, and there are at least close to 3 million who are in our armed forces, the active reserves, and the National Guard. So service to others is part of our national character too. So for those reasons and a lot of other reasons, it's really an amazing country that you've now become a citizen of. You notice I didn't say perfect, because it's not. Our country is a work in progress, as it's always been. We're not always proud of our diversity. We've had periods of our history where we've been intolerant to various parts of our population, so it's a work in progress. I think as new citizens, you play a significant role in helping our country continue to improve and to continue to progress. You now have the exact same rights as I do. The exact same rights as every other citizen. You have the right to participate in your communities, you have the right to speak up if you see some form of injustice, and you have the right to vote for the people who represent us in government. There's a lot of people in this country who take that for granted, and I'm hoping that you don't. I'm hoping that you'll serve as an example to your fellow Americans, and that you be involved in your communities and exercise the right to vote when you have that, when you have the opportunity to do that. And I think if you do that, you'll help us continue to improve and help us to continue to be a place that people want to come to from all around the world, just like you and your families did. So with that, I want to again thank you for allowing me to participate in this ceremony, and I want to again congratulate you.
Thank you, Judge Kennelly, for those remarks. And now we are very honored to have with us the senior senator of the state of Illinois, Senator Richard Durbin. Senator Durbin, please join us.
What an honor. I can only think of one thing more thrilling than being sworn in as a new citizen of the United States, to have it in Wrigley Field. Tom Ricketts, thank you for the great opportunity to come to the Cathedral of American Baseball for this occasion. Let me also note that we're in a sports mode of thinking lately with the Olympics. How many here have watched the Olympics? Almost all of us, right? Well, there's something you might want to know about the U.S. Olympic team. 1 out of every 10 members representing the United States is either an immigrant or the child of an immigrant. They came to the U.S. from many of the same nations that you came from: Kenya, Cameroon, Eritrea, Somalia, China, Vietnam, Mexico, Germany, and so many other places around the globe. Leonard Korir is one of those Olympians, an American by choice, born in Kenya. He's a long-distance runner, and he's a staff sergeant in the United States Army. Many of you will have served our nation at some point, and we bless you for that. On Saturday at the Paris Olympics, Leonard Korir will represent the U.S. in the marathon, 26.2 miles of pain. He says what keeps him going is just to don't give up until you get to the finish line. That could be the motto of every person today who was sworn into the citizenship, who decided, I'm going to become a citizen of the United States, and then made many personal sacrifices, many tough decisions to make that happen. I'd like to tell you briefly my story. In July of 1911, a ship stopped in Baltimore, Maryland, and my grandmother came down the gangplank with her 3 children. The 2-year-old she was carrying was my mother. She arrived in the United States for my grandfather and a new life. Today, her son is the senator representing this. I went back to her village in Lithuania, Jurbarkas, and I asked a fellow, anything left in this village from when my mother immigrated in 1911? He said, well, the church she was baptized in is still standing, which I visited, and also the well that was a common place for meeting of the people who lived in the village. And I went down and stood by that well and thought for a moment what it must have been like to make that decision to come to the United States. She would call together family and friends and say they decided to go to America. And they made the decision, giving up everything in Lithuania for that opportunity. I'm sure some of their neighbors who were there walked away from that and said, what are they thinking? The Kutkaita family is going to give up that good house. They're going to stop going to this church. They're going to leave their relatives. They're going to go to a country where they don't even speak the language. They'll be back. They didn't come back. They came here and made the sacrifice that was necessary to make a life in America, to build a life in America. That takes a special person, and you are those special persons. You bring to this experience the determination to do it, even though there were skeptics among your family and friends, and you brought yourself to this country to be part of our future. If you visit my office in the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C., you will see on the credenza behind my desk my mother's naturalization certificate. Before she passed away, I asked her if she could find it. She found it in a minute and brought it to me to take a look at it. I pulled the certificate out of the brown envelope, and a little piece of paper flew out. I picked it up and I looked at it, and it was the receipt for the filing fee for her naturalization ceremony. It was $2.50. And I said to my mother, why did you save this? Perfectly like my mother, she said, if the government ever challenged me, I can prove that I paid that filing fee. That's my mom. I am proud to be the son of an immigrant. I support immigration as a United States Senator. I welcome you because we need you. We need you in America to make us an even greater nation, and I'm sure you will. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, Senator Durbin. We also have with us Congressman Mike Quigley of the Illinois Congressional 5th District. Mr. Quigley?
Congratulations. Looking out to you, I have to tell you, this is my favorite day of the year. And it's all together fitting and appropriate that it takes place at one of my absolute favorite places in the entire world, Wrigley Field. Thank you to the Cubs and the Ricketts family. We're going to show personal stories, just a little bit of what the American dream can be. My ancestors came over originally to Canada from the potato famine in Ireland, and then they crossed the border and lived in Indiana. Their grandson adopted my father out of an orphanage during the Depression, and I still have that application. Senator Durbin talks about the application fee, and it says, do you want a boy or a girl? And they wrote, just any child we can love. That has to be the way we look at this coming to the United States. We have to be together. There's so much more that unites us and divides us, and we have to love. All of you are here because you're pursuing the American dream. And I know that dream looks different for all of you, but the core values remain the same. Today, we all take a step toward achieving that dream, toward a life where you're free to be who you are, worship as you please, and exist without persecution. We have that chance to pursue individual prosperity and make a successful life for yourselves and your families. I know that journey so far has been long for some of you. It probably felt like this day would never come. You studied hard, you worked hard, you took a sacred oath. You already felt like like Americans in your heart and in your minds, but today you declare yourselves Americans on paper too. It's a momentous day, and I'm honored to be part of it, because after all, I live across the street. Chicago is my home. One of the reasons I'm so honored to call this place home is incredible people like yourselves who come from places all around the world. While you're making that enormous leap today, I hope you always stay proud of your roots and proud of your identity. Hold on to it and share it with your community. It is our strength. We are stronger when we bring a multitude of cultures, ideas, and experiences to our society. But as you know, that comes with responsibility. Baseball is a spectator sport. Democracy is not a spectator sport. To be active and engaged with what is happening, not only next door, but on the other side of the country. You now have the power to create a brighter future, to help form a more perfect union and make a difference for generations to come. 50 years ago, I had a teacher, that's how old we are. 50 years ago, I had a teacher tell me, don't let anyone tell you that you can't save the world. You can, and you have a moral responsibility to try. Therefore, in closing, I'm reminded of the poet Walt Whitman, the American poet who wrote during the Civil War. And the end of what I thought is his greatest poem is an ode to you, that you are here, that life exists in identity, that the powerful play goes on, and that you may contribute a verse. Whatever that verse is, contribute it. Godspeed to you in that verse. Thank you all. God bless.
And we are fortunate to have another congressperson with us this morning. May I please welcome Congresswoman Delia Ramirez from the 3rd Congressional District of Illinois. Thank you.
Good morning. Buenos dias. My name is Delia Ramirez, and I have the honor of representing Illinois' 3rd Congressional District, a district proud of the contributions of the many immigrants who call it home, whether they arrived here months ago or decades ago. But more importantly, I am the daughter of an immigrant, Maria Elvira Ramirez, who more than 40 years ago nearly drowned in El Rio Grande, pregnant with me, just to give me a better life, and received her citizenship because of congressional action over 30 years ago. Today, I stand before you as a daughter of Maria Elvira Ramirez and as the very first Latina American in Congress from the Midwest because of her journey. And I'm the wife of a dreamer, Boris Hernandez, who came here at a young age and has called this country his home for many years and is still in the process of that adjustment status that you know so well. He and I dream of a day very soon where I will be here, yes, as the congresista, as a congresswoman, but even more importantly, as a wife of a husband that finally has this chance to be able to be sworn in as a United States citizen. I am the niece of a man who has worked in this country for 35 years and has invested in the education of his children, 4 boys through college, but can't retire and couldn't be here today because, unfortunately, he's still in that process to change his status. However, this morning in this place, his wife, my tia, Corina Guerra, who I think is somewhere there, is here becoming a citizen in this very same stadium. As you hear from so many of us, and Congressman Quigley said it so beautifully, this is a special day. And I'm incredibly excited to welcome everyone to today's naturalization ceremony. You represent Americans from 97 different countries. And like my family, so many of you here have waited for so many years. And I have a feeling that some of you may have not slept last night from the excitement of this very day. It is so powerful to be in this stadium, the Cubs Stadium, a special stadium for so many of us, not just Northwest members of Congress. I am a Northwestern member of Congress. I know we have others like Congressman Garcia who finds it special too. But in this place, who makes our city, our state, and our country stronger because you help endure hope for change, and today that is affirmed in your oath of citizenship. And as newly naturalized citizens, I want you to look around. If you're in the front, look back. Look to the side. Look to the left. All of you here today represent the best of this country. All of you here have finally become a U.S. citizen. And I invite you to continue to advocate for those who are still waiting for that pathway. It may be your spouse like me, it may be your parents, it may be a sibling, or it may be your neighbor. And know that we will continue to work for immigration reform so that people like my mom and others can finally have that pathway if in this moment they can't. And I want you to be reminded of this moment, because these experiences root me in the need to fight within the halls of Congress for, yes, comprehensive immigration reform. And as your Congresswoman, I couldn't be more prouder. I couldn't be more prouder of who you are. I couldn't be more proud of your strength. I couldn't be more proud of your perseverance. I couldn't be more proud of the sacrifices you made and the distances you traveled for this precise moment. And to the many of my constituents that are here today, Elmer Fajardo, I think right in front, and Esteban Nunez from Warrenville, from Logan Square to Elgin, congratulations. But to every one of you here, we know it hasn't been easy, pero lo hiciste, you did it. So today we celebrate you. We celebrate your journey that has brought you to the United States and the responsibility, as you heard very loud and clear, of your citizenship as you accept it today. Felicitaciones. Congratulations. Gratulacja. I try to say it in Polish. Congratulations.
Now, before you go out and celebrate, you need that certificate in your hands, right? So thank you, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. And to close our ceremony, I am going to call upon the Deputy District Director of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, Carissa Scheffler. Ms. Scheffler is going to give you the most important information that you need in order to obtain your certificate.
Good morning. On behalf of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, the Chicago District, and the Chicago Field Office, I'd like to congratulate all of the new citizens for making the choice to become Americans. Well done. Thank you, Chief Judge Kendall, Judge Canali, Senator Durbin, and all the esteemed guests for your inspiring words and participation in today's ceremony. And thank you to the Ricketts family, the Cubs, and Wrigley Field for opening up this iconic venue for our special event. I'd also like to recognize the USCIS staff from the Chicago Field Office. They're a dedicated team of public servants that are committed to upholding the integrity of the legal immigration system and presenting the court only people eligible to receive our country's highest honor. You! Our commitment to the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services mission is seen, and your dedication makes events like this very special. Okay, here's the most important information now. At the conclusion of this ceremony, the new citizens will be directed to the concourse to receive your certificates of naturalization. New citizens, please remain in your seats until your section is dismissed. You will be exiting through the same tunnel that you used to enter the field. Guests, family, and friends, please remain in your seats until all the new citizens have been dismissed. You will also be using the same route to exit the field as you entered. New citizens, after you receive your certificate, please, please, please take a moment to review all of the information printed on your certificate to ensure that it's accurate. If there are any errors, please notify a member of the USCIS staff before you leave today. Thank you, and congratulations again.
Okay, now it is time to celebrate. This ceremonial session of the United States District Court is now adjourned. Have a wonderful day.